Hello and welcome to the Day There Dudes. I'm Izzy.
I'm Raka. Welcome, Dead Dudes Nation, again to our continuing saga, our chronicles of true crime.
Welcome back to the True Crime series. Welcome all Day There Dudes Nation. Welcome everybody from the east to the west, to the north and the south, to Europe and Asia, South and North America, everywhere in between, and Timbuktu.
And a special shout out to our friend in, is it the Netherlands? I'm sorry if I butcher that.
In the Netherlands, and we have friends in France. We have friends all over the place. But yes.
We were winners of our giveaway last end of the year, and he was nice enough to send us a very grateful quick video, shout out and highlights on our Instagram page. And thank you for all those who subscribed and participated in the giveaway. All right, let's get
you know what? Please click on this video, like, comment, subscribe, and show us the love.
Video and podcast. Okay, so today we have a special treat. We're going to deviate from our run of serial killers.
Episode 10 of the True Crime series, so it's a special episode.
We're going to delve into a horrific, unthinkable murder.
Yes, legitimate true crime. It is the curious true story of one Joshua Jenkins. Okay.
So let's delve into, like everybody else's, what made him tick and where did he come from, his early beginnings. Let's see.
He was born in 1980, and he was adopted early on. Okay, he was adopted to a nice family. The Jenkins family, of course, to George and Eileen Jenkins. Eileen Jenkins, who also happened to be a twin, also identical twin too. And and early on, they noticed that he was a loving kid, a loving boy, whatever, but he also had behavior problems as he started getting older and older, when he reaching into his teens.
Well, yeah, even at 5 years old, he was in a special education program, diagnosed with dyslexia and ADHD.
But he was considered a very smart kid.
He was, and so
and an IQ over 160 he had.
Right, not to disparage anyone with ADHD or think that it's a common misconception that ADHD and you're stupid or you're dumb or you're slow. No, you just have some kind of attention focus issue, but exactly. You actually grasp concepts very quickly. And dyslexia is hard to diagnose in kids because many kids write P and Q and B and D, and this is normal. It's not dyslexia. It's really later. So I don't know at 5 years old if that was a kind of threw it in there kind of thing, because it's really, really hard to diagnose that. So he did have some, I don't even know if you want to call it behavioral, or you had some maybe psychiatric, psychological signs,
right,
of concern. And okay, so they lived in LA.
Yep, California. San
So
Diego,
in 93,
San Diego, right? I think it was.
They were in California. They moved in 93 to Las Vegas, Nevada.
Okay.
Really don't know why they decided to move.
The murders happened in San Diego. That's what it was. I apologize. Carry on.
Actually, not in San Diego, but in Vista.
Well, San Diego County. How about that?
Yeah, Vista Del Mar.
There you go.
So in 1993, they moved to Vegas. Again, I said that. And then they have another adoption. They adopted a sister,
Megan.
Yeah, and by all accounts, he was very protective of Megan. He wasn't torturing her. He wasn't teasing her. He wasn't abusing her, by all accounts. And again, you have to ask who the accounts are. I understand. And so now you have these two adopted brother and sister. They're in Vegas. We're taking you now to him being 12 years old and her sister being 7 years old.
Right.
In 8th grade, the school psychologist, and this is where things start getting noticed, makes note that there's concern pattern of behavior, some of which
Go into that.
includes in his spare time he prefers to be alone.
The loner.
Yeah. So some other odd behaviors. Two very prominent signs of something is up is he claims to have conversations with aliens, and at some point he
Shocking.
believes needles came out of the TV and went into his body.
Right.
And these are some claims that he has, which prompted the psychologist to diagnose him as schizophrenia, especially because of the illusions. And here is where they put him on medication for ADHD. We don't know yet. It's inconclusive whether that medication had adverse effects to come later.
Already at this point, they had they spoke to the family, and in particular the twin sister, meaning his aunt, who already had known a lot of what has been going on. And they also mentioned that the kid already had terrible mood swings as he was getting older. He would normally bump into his dad and his little sister, just like force aggression. It's like just like kind of shoulder them for no reason at all. And as he got older, in particularly, on several
14.
occasions they called 911 on him. Where one in particular, where he threatened to kill his father with a crossbow and a rifle.
But what did he end up doing to his father?
Regale us, Raka.
At age 14, he actually broke his father's arm with a baseball bat. So the violent aggression wasn't your typical teenage angst. There's something serious going on here, which prompted the family to make a decision what to do with young Joshua.
Exactly.
And what did they decide to do?
They sent him to a school for disturbed youngsters. Now, there's different reports. They sent him to a boarding school. They sent him away.
Yeah.
And it was obviously because his behavior. They were afraid of him, and they loved him, obviously, but they were afraid for their safety. So it's understandable why they...
Let's pause right here and do the shoe game. We're in their shoes, the parents. Adopted this child who was a loving child. Okay, there were some mental problems and some issues as a youth. You move away, possibly to get better schooling, possibly to have a better situation for your kids. You adopt another girl. So now you have a young girl in the household. You're trying your best to love an adopted child. And all you get is violent actions and disturbing behavior. You're concerned about yourself, your own welfare, and for the little girl.
I mean, this, let's be honest, ladies and gentlemen, this is like a real life, because obviously it ends a certain way. This is a real life Michael Myers. This is a kid, grew up. I mean, fine, he was adopted, so, fine, we're not going to compare that. But with aggression to the point where it led to a notoriously violent end. Not so much for him, but for the rest of his family. Which is straight up fucked up. I mean, and how could they have stopped this? At the point where they adopted him, to the point where they actually put him in a home or put him in a facility
where they could monitor him better. the facility must realize that he has some behavioral issues
He
themselves.
was drawing pictures. One of the last pictures, he was drawing pictures of himself with a knife, with a bloody knife, murdering his family. Okay, and not only that, but he also asked. Let me see if I can find a quote. He asked one of the therapists there, "What is the easiest way if slitting someone's throat is the easiest way to kill someone?" Now, I mean, if these aren't red freaking flags, I don't know what they are. You know, I mean,
Now,
it's just
in retrospect, we go back to all of the serial killer profiles, and I know there's just serial killers, and this is a murderer, but there's a commonality with childhood.
But let me ask
We
you,
don't,
I mean,
we
what's the
don't
difference
know what happened before
between
5
this
years old.
guy and a serial killer? There's been serial killers who killed less people than he did.
Right. True.
He killed 5 people. If you guys didn't know, all right, here we go. 5. He killed his whole family because they were
The
there. Now he
the
would have killed
nomenclature.
more if more were there.
Yeah, I mean, we don't want to get into semantics war, but so the serial killer is serial. It's a pattern.
Mm-hmm.
Um, this is a one-time murderer, multiple homicides.
Right.
Um, then you have mass murderers, who just kill, genocide, and all that. Different categories, and we're not here to really pick the categories. But what we want to point out is we don't know anything prior to age 5. We don't know why he was up for adoption. We don't know if anything happened traumatic. But you can assume that your memory is not all there before age 5.
So can we
So
assume he was abused before 5?
it's possible. I wouldn't
Cause
rule
him
it
to be
out.
this way. See, but I don't want to give him an out. I don't want to give him an out. I don't even want to even think about that because that would be because this dude meticulously planned
Oh,
this thing
yeah.
out.
You're right. So right there, he's got a noodle.
Of course,
He's got a good working noodle because he
of
can
course.
plan this out. Everything's premeditated. It wasn't that he snapped. And we're jumping the gun here. He didn't snap. He had a plan on how to do this, and he had a plan on how to get away.
Definitely.
You don't just do this willy nilly I wake up today, I feel like slaughtering everybody. No, I know things were building. And again, here's the other side. And again, I do respect everybody, and this has to be an inescapable, mild touch commentary on mental illness, and it's a real thing, and you have to reach out if you have that or you suspect somebody to have that. But we are not privy either to what may have happened in this household.
No.
I'm not disparaging or want to make any kind of baseless claims about the family, but you have to think about it. Did something happen in this home?
Check this out. All right. He had asked the counselor at the school for disturbed youngsters, where he was at, if the quickest way to kill a person was by cutting his throat, and told the counselor, quote unquote, watch. I won't be back here next week. This was mentioned before the slayings. So this is a person who, like we mentioned before, was not so much meticulous, but he was
Calculate.
exactly calculating.
All right. Izzy, you want to take us to May of 1996 when the family drove all the way from Las Vegas to Vista Del Mar to pick up young Joshua from his boarding school.
Well, all right. Well, it was actually, wasn't it? It was actually February. Sorry.
Sorry.
The trial was in May.
Yeah. Sorry about that. So,
Nonetheless,
95.
so they picked him up, all right, at the school, and they said, you know what? Let's visit the grandparents, in San Diego, which is why I mentioned it before. For the
Because
week,
they're close by.
exactly. So, I mean, and everything's all good at this point. This mofo, and there's no other word to say it because the stuff that he did is just up there with any serial killer. I have to admit. So he waited till they were asleep, and then he took a knife, a hammer, and an axe, and then he killed his parents. Then he killed his grandparents, and then he hid the bodies in the room, in one of the master bedrooms.
So, if I can interject right
Go
here,
ahead, please.
this,
If you
this
want
is
to
the
get more
moment.
specifics, go ahead, please.
This is the moment. Izzy knows where I'm going here, where we want to let the audience know that
Yes.
we're going to get graphic.
Warning.
Hide the women and children. I'm sorry, not the women. Hide the children and anyone sensitive to this material, because this is what happened. This is the crime scene, and it's part of the reporting. Okay. I think around midnight, they estimate he's watching TV,
Mm-hmm.
and grandma, I believe, comes out. I'm sorry, the mom
Well,
comes
yes,
out.
I
The
forgot.
mom comes out to go to the bathroom.
They get to an argument. Yes.
They get into an argument, and as she was on her way to the bathroom, they get into an argument. I guess he's staying up late. Was he doing whatever? And he proceeds to attack and deliver 18 blows. You know, and now you kill her. Now you kill grandma by 18 blows. So, oh, that's right. To the father. That's the father. Arguing with the father. So then the wife, Eileen, comes out. What's going on? What's going on? Whatever. And then she sees the situation and she tries to make a run for the phone. He's in between her and the phone. And you know what happens. What happens is 12 blows to the mom's head.
Is it what 9 to the heart?
No, oh, that's coming up. So grandma is waking up by the whole situation. She comes out. So yeah, he's not a weak kid. He's got energy for it. And he's, you know what? It's like wave after wave. And it's an unfortunate.
Yeah, at this point, the kid is 15 years old, right? 15. So you
And
figure, I mean, for all from what I've seen, didn't look like a small guy.
no, but this is all done with a hammer.
Oh, I know. I'm saying, yeah.
A
Well,
blunt
throwing a hammer.
force
And
savagery. You know, so
you know what it is to hit someone with a hammer? I mean, it's like you need to get up close and personal. Same thing with an axe, same thing with a knife.
grandma gets it.
Shooting someone. It
And this
is.
is grandma. Grandma gets it 14 times to the head.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, grandpa's the last to get up.
Well,
Grandpa comes up to see, and he takes it. Don't know the head count or the shot count, but he takes it. So he has now dispatched mom, dad, grandpa, grandma, and drags them to the master bedroom
mm-hmm.
and piles them up.
Yeah.
So they're not like laying in the bed or he just systematically piles them up like you would if you're going to start a campfire.
Pretty much.
Sister Megan wakes up a little bit later. Oh, he actually goes back to the living room, grabs, and this is his account, grabs a root beer and continues to watch television.
You know what? I'm not.
Sister
You know,
wakes up.
it's just so.
Oh, it gets better, people. Megan wakes up and then goes to talk to him. What's happening? What's going on? I heard commotions. I heard a lot of noise. I couldn't sleep. And he tells her, nothing's wrong. Everything's okay. Go back to bed. She wakes up later at night. Can't sleep. He still consoles her. To this point, so far, no harm has come to Megan.
No, not yet.
He's watching TV. Now, well, I guess early in the morning or something, he says that, well, grandma was sick or grandpa was sick and they had to go to the hospital, but they left me in charge to take care of you. Really got nothing else to do, totally random. Let's take a trip to the hardware store.
Yeah. So at this point, Megan knows something is up, but because she trusts him and it's a big brother. I mean, why, I mean, it's like she, was probably in shock or whatever. I mean, she goes to the hardware store where he purchases an axe.
A firefighter special,
Yeah.
and
Which in turn ends up being Megan's downfall. Okay.
now here I'm going
Weapon
to
that kills her.
I'm going to recount his account, and then later we'll get into the forensics. So he later will confess and say that, and very callously and casually, out of the blue, she wakes up or she's at home, and he hits her over the head with the blunt side of the axe,
Mhm.
and then proceeds to
Let's not forget this. I'm sorry to cut you off. Let's not forget this. At the point where he leaves, when they leave, he sets the, the condo aflame.
yes.
Okay.
I mean, she's the one who actually is the root cause of death, not the 6 shots to her head and all, but 9 stab wounds to her heart.
Mm-hmm.
Now, without anybody being a forensic pathologist here, your heart is encased by bone and muscle for a reason. Evolutionary, that's your beating lifeblood. To get there, you'll have to go through some of the hardest bone, your xiphoid process, to get through in your rib cage.
Now, Rocca, how do you know that?
9, Raka works in pathology. So Raka knows that to get 9 stab wounds to the heart takes precision or extreme blunt force trauma.
Exactly.
And as you mentioned, proceeds to set the house aflame. Firefighters are called to the home, and of course, after the scene is under control, the family members are there, and one person is missing. And with not really deep investigation, they know that there is some troubled behavior, and so they end up posting a one-ad photo of him as a person of interest at the gas station.
Now,
Really funny.
here's where the interjection of the interjections come in, where we usually knock the justice system, but here now I knock. Who can I knock?
Actually, it seems to be him. If he wanted to get away with everything and he planned everything and was smart about everything, and he covered his tracks, except they know he's going to be on the run. Why are you coming back to see it? Why aren't you?
See, but not so much that. I'm saying you have a disturbed individual, okay? And it's not once, it's not twice. He broke his father's arm. He threatened him with a crossbow and a rifle. He threatened him with bodily harm more than one time. They sent him to a school for disturbed youngsters. Don't you think that something else could have been done?
I think which on Izzy's mind is 2 words. And those words might be child services.
Ding, ding, ding. Okay?
So again, he may have his capacity and his wits about him, but if he truly is, and he might very well truly be very mentally disturbed, he goes to a parking lot and takes a nap. I guess he's all tired and spent.
Mind you, at this point, the dude does not know how to drive. So he drove the car on not knowing. He took the parents, I think it was a Mercedes Benz. His family silver Mercedes Benz. And he does not know how to drive. So he went to the hardware store, came back, set the shit on fire, boom, and is driving. And then after this whole thing's going on, that's when someone recognizes him.
Because he goes to the gas station where the one ad poster is up.
Goes to the next day, he goes to the AM PM mini market off of California 78. Okay,
Maybe he needed a Twinkie.
probably. The clerk recognized him and called 911.
which is amazing. Really. I mean, if I'm a clerk,
Honestly,
I
you know
believe
what?
it
It was bound to happen because you're right. A lot of people don't give a fuck. Let's be honest. Sorry to say.
I mean, you're in there to get your lotto tickets, your cigarettes, your beer, some coke, and something to go on the road, coffee, and you're out.
I mean, you
You
see
know, maybe
a kid, you
fine
see
forever.
a young kid, whatever. You're like, oh, okay, whatever, and then boom.
So then, after he's called, he's arrested trying to escape, and then taken to custody. Where, oddly enough, he calmly confesses to everything and says that his plan afterwards was to drive. I don't know how to drive all the way back to their home in Las Vegas
Yep.
and commit suicide in the family house garage, which Bupkis, I call bullshit. I don't think that was part of it at all.
He did say he was pissed off because they did send him to the school and he wanted revenge for that.
Yes, he blamed everything on being sent to the boarding school. Wah, tough noogies. Unbelievable. You do this. And I understand, as a youth, as anybody's a youth, I understand. It's hard to see and appreciate the forest through the trees. You don't know what your parents do for you until you're older and you have kids of your own, or you're seeing other people, what they go through and how much it is to take, hell, it's how hard it is just to take care of a dog. I get that. But you go kill everybody, including the grandparents, including the sister that you supposedly protect. No. I'm sorry, mental illness or not. This is some of the most fucked up things I've ever heard that somebody does. Somebody at age 14, 15.
Yeah, I think to a degree, I mean, the dude was which leads into next how at first he pleaded not guilty.
Right.
By way of insanity. But then his defense lawyer said that it was in his best interest to change the plea.
Well,
because you have if found insane, he could be sentenced to a state hospital. If found sane, he faced a maximum of 140 years in prison.
without the
Don't forget, he was also 15 years old at the time.
But during the initial hearing, he was deemed sane, and he was deemed to be treated as an adult.
Exactly.
Now, his hearing is coming up July this year. I guess his appeal hearing.
Well,
so we bring this up to notice because it's a few months away. God knows what's going to happen or what's the angle they're going to work. But we need to rear end back our forensic pathology.
Spared him the death penalty because of his age.
But I think now we're going to just take one quick sidetrack back to investigate with a forensic pathology angle.
Let's do it.
That I really am suspicious of how much his mental illness works here. Okay. The forensic reports tiny cuts on young Megan's neck. And it is surmised that these cuts could be made by a small knife or razor blade or strangulation. So this does not fit with his initial confession report that he just hit her with the axe and then stabbed her and everything. It does fit consistent with somebody who's either going to torture someone or torture and sexually molest someone first before killing them.
Now,
if that's the case, I bring it up because this is now not straight revenge, anger, or rage, or built up revenge. There's another thing working here.
But that's the weird thing because, and again, by no means am I defending this fucking piece of shit. But I mean, there was no supposed history of this type of, stuff. You know what I mean? So But
I
the
mean,
fact that you're that sick and you would, but it kind of makes sense though also that he would leave her for last, leave her out of it, and then take her, and then I don't know, man. It's even more fucked up.
if
It's
they
even way more fucked up than you can even imagine.
it is. Here's the other anger, which I'm going to have an interesting time to see where the defense takes this. So when he brought the bodies into the room,
Right.
5 adult bodies, 4,
Or
and then the girl. But the initial 4,
it would have
they
been
weren't.
with the other sister, but she had to leave for a conference. So
According to forensics reports and everything, they weren't dead yet. He went. So if you're angry, you did the job, and maybe there's that moment where your consciousness takes over and you look at the damage you've done. You're like, ah, shit. But there wasn't that moment. There was a moment he took 4 bodies, which is, taxing and incredibly visceral and hands-on and post action, and they're not dead yet. And he proceeds to stab them all to finish the job. So that would conclude that your rage took over, did its deal, and you brood over the bodies of what you've done, and it seeps into, oh, now let me just kill them all. There's another layer to this, where it's a committed action, no zero remorse, and
no.
even with a little lapse in time to
reports where
have
they've seen the kid's eyes, and it's just like he's like
death.
almost laughing because there's nothing there, which is why I compared it to Michael Myers. It's almost an instant to Michael Myers, So, but
I mean, true indeed. As sad as it is, it's
there
true.
was even a moment where that afternoon where he took Megan's friend Phaedra called to talk to Megan. And he told her something has come up. Megan's really busy right now and cannot talk.
Right. It's within his capacity. This is one of those situations, folks, where this happened in California. I have no idea what the California law is or what's their issue.
Oh, we know we have issues with California.
Someone please explain to me how he's even alive. I mean, forget about the ridiculous 140 years and all. How is this an individual that someone out there deems possibly rehabilitable? He can be rehabbed. He can be reintroduced into society. Are you out of your freaking mind? 4 adults' lives were taken and 1 young girl in one of the most heinous acts of savagery, butchery, that, in my opinion, was not a result of blind rage.
There's been reports of the firemen who actually, when they entered the house, the building, and they saw the amount of blood caked on the walls and fingerprints and handprints everywhere, and the amount of blood, they thought it was like a massacre, which essentially was. And
a bloodbath.
You're talking about people who have seen the worst of the worst, potentially at least. And it was the work of 1 kid. Let's be honest. Regardless of how big he is, it's still a kid. He's 15 years old. Crazy.
I agree with you, Izzy. There was a lot of telltale signs.
But technically, he got 112 years. But like Raka said, there's an appeal coming.
An appeal coming in July of this year, 2021. So, folks, it doesn't matter. Time, place, situation, family raising you, trauma, what have you. By all accounts, they were well off. They had no want. There is no evidence unless something comes forward that we don't know of traumatized, victimized, psychologically battered. No reason at all that we can fathom why this murder, heinous act was committed. And this is recent. We've delved into a lot of the, for lack of a better term, iconic serial killers, but this is very recent, and this is, yeah, a 15-year-old maniac who has issues, deep issues, and in a sad, horrific, tragic end for the Jenkins family.
100%. So, Rocco, what do you think? How can I put this? What do you think? You think it was a situation of nature versus nurture, meaning you think it was something that, like they say, blind rage, or a senseless act of temporary insanity, or
I think it's a combination of
everything
everything.
were premeditated?
I think it's a combination of everything, but I cannot exclude the fact that there is, from a young age, troubling signs and the pattern of behavior getting worse. I honestly don't think the parents did, just, third person observer, the wrong thing by sending him away, maybe for safety and maybe because they can't help him at home, so somebody else could. They possibly got wrong mixed signals that maybe he was good to go, and they meet up with him for after a year, and of course it seems like they loved him and they want to reunite with him and see how he's doing and be part of the family. Unfortunately, they didn't know maybe how far gone he was. Unfortunately, they found out the hard way.
Yeah, the way I see it, I think that they should have known when they had to call 911 that he threatened their lives.
Broke his arm.
And I think at that point, he is not unfixable, but at that point, he needs to leave.
He's a danger to others.
He can't be there. He's a danger to them, danger to himself, and he can't be there.
The only thing is kudos to the high school, the eighth grade school psychologist who picked up all the signs. And there's a system and there's individual good doctors. It seems to be a very good individual clinician who picked up on, there's something wrong with this kid and this needs to be alerted.
Yeah, but I gotta good did.
This stuff. I know.
They knew about it and nothing happened.
No, but unfortunately,
which
right?
goes to what I'm saying. I mean, even though they knew about it, they still were like, oh, okay, no, we love Josh. And look,
of course, you're conflicted.
I get it. I don't have any kids, so I can't relate in that sense. But it just boggles the mind how you keep giving a person opportunity based upon opportunity upon opportunity. We don't even know. All we know is what they tell us, that, or what's recorded. We don't even know how many times. It could have been 50 times that this happened.
Most likely, yes. And I would have to end by saying the cliche catchphrase is appropriate here. Love is blind.
Because the anger that the kid had to do this, it must have been some crazy. I mean,
that's what I'm saying. Love is blind, and I'm talking about the love of the parents. It's blind because I'm assuming 100 times you could do wrong, and they will accept you back 100 times. But there's that 100th last time that this happened, and it was game over. Mm-hmm. All right, guys, thanks for tuning in.
That's the story of one
Joshua
Jenkins.
Young child killer. And thank you again for joining us on this podcast trip down today's horrific murder case study. Brought to you by Dead Air Dudes. Again, we are trending on all podcast platforms, on YouTube. Like and subscribe, and thank you for all of you that keep us going. Give us the energy and the feedback.
You guys have a Facebook world. We're there also. So thank you all, like Raka said, for following, for liking, for commenting, for subscribing. And if not, let us know if you guys still continue to appreciate and enjoy this content. We have so much more to give to you guys. So we appreciate it. Thank you. And as always,
Be vigilant and save the whales.
take care, guys.